What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Spartans! What is your profession's favorite nerd? And today we are looking at Figma's Leonidas figure. I love 300. It's kind of a frustrating thing for me because I hate when I get into a conversation with people, normies, as Philip calls them, and I'm like, yeah, it's based on a graphic novel that's kind of a classic, and they're like, no, it's based on a historic event, and I'm like, kind of. The graphic novel is loosely based on a historic event, but I get into that conversation all the time with folks, I feel like, that don't know any better. But it's not for us to get angry with them. We just educate them the best that we can. Anyway, this is on loan to me from Chris L. Shout out to him. He's got another Star Wars Samurai figure for me to look at also, but I greatly appreciate the opportunity because I was really excited about taking a look at this figure, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to quite afford him at the moment with all the other stuff I got going on. So we're going to switch things up a bit today, and we're going to talk about the figure, and then we're going to do the accessories, because the accessories are fairly involved. So the head is on a Figma swivel. This is the first time I've looked at a Figma figure. I'm familiar with them because I've watched reviews of the Figma type figures before, but it's on a, you can take this head out. Might be easier to show you since we've never done a Figma figure. Okay, so it's a ball peg into the neck, and then it's a ball hinge, and then it's an additional swivel up top where it plugs in, and then down in here it's a ball peg as well. So that's how that's done. Now, I will say, I wish this sat a little bit deeper. That's a significant gap there. I wish that sat in there a little bit deeper. But, whatever, and his neck looks a little big to me. Just looks a little weird in that place. And I'm sure you can fiddle with it and kind of get a better pose. But there's a lot of moving pieces, so it's not the easiest thing to do. For the face sculpt, it's really good. I mean, like the paint, like it's a subtle shading around the eyes and stuff, but it really makes him look weathered. The eyes are painted extremely well. The beard is painted well. Hair's all sculpted, and then the braid around the head is sculpted well, and then we get the little braid hanging down. Lips are painted. It's really nice. And then we have, it just feels like it should be a ball peg, but you don't really get much out of this diaphragm joint more than a swivel, and then you get another ball peg down here at the bottom. I do wish it could bend over a bit more. It does seem a little limited that way. Back is not a problem, side to side is not a problem, swivel's not a problem. For the arm, it's the same type of joint, it looks like. Yeah, it's a ball peg into the torso, coming out to a hinged ball joint, coming out to another swivel at the arm. And I should say the flesh tones, it's all shaded, but it's subtle. It's like a I don't even know how they achieved it. I'm guessing airbrush. I'm not entirely sure. And then we have the little scar on the chest that's sculpted in there. All the muscle detail looks great. Proportions look fantastic also. No bicep swivel, which is a little weird, but you get a little bit of swivel at the shoulder. Range of motion is kind of up to there, and then it swivels all the way around, of course. We have a ball hinge for the elbow that gets you a little bit past 90 degrees. And then the armor is all sculpted and then painted and washed. So that looks really sweet as well. This piece is an extra floating piece. It's painted and washed, and the buckle is painted as well and looks good. Then we have this floating piece here, which is his sheath for his sword, and that is also painted. Well, it's actually just washed, it looks like, but it looks really good, like the way that the wash sticks in the seams there, like the stitching seams, which are all sculpted of the sword, which is nice. And then we got his little Spartan briefs, and they're all washed as well. They look accurate. And down here we have a T-jointed ball joints. This one is, maybe it's this sheath. Yeah, there we go. So, get you out to here. Front and back to there, and then there's an additional joint built around the ball peg to get you an additional swivel in the thigh, which is nice. I like that. And then we have a single joint for the knee, but it looks pretty good. The color's a little different, but it looks pretty good, and the range is great. It's not extreme, but I think it'll get you everything that you want. And then we have this gold armor once again that's washed and looks good, and all the little dings and whatnot are all sculpted in there, and the wash hits them just right. And then the little straps are sculpted on the back, and they look good. Then for the ankles, we have the same sort of deal. This ball hinge, which gets you a tilt up, a tilt down, and if you turn it and rock it, you get a little bit of a rocker, but not the best. At least not that I can see, but it's still there. And then we have a toe hinge. All the toes are sculpted, and the straps are sculpted around the sandals. And it actually looks pretty good. That's a hard thing to pull off when you have the toes exposed like that, but it looks pretty good. So I commend them for that. And that's this guy. Now we'll talk about the accessories. A couple things we can get right out of the way. He has this necklace with a tooth on it. The tooth is painted, the rest is just brown. That goes on there, and let's see how it sits. It sits relatively relaxed. The problem with necklaces and stuff like that is that it never fits around. It never looks like it has the weight around the mold. This isn't terrible. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. And we're going to take the head off, and we're going to talk about the other head, and we're going to talk about kind of how all this is done. So he has this other face sculpt, which I will not be using, because I find that while I like these super animated face sculpts, I rarely use them. That's an extreme emotion. But it's all painted well, except the eyes are, I feel like his right eye is a little bit cross-eyed. Let's see if I can't. Is that showing up at all? A little bit cross-eyed. But the teeth and the mouth and all that stuff are painted well. I wouldn't use this even if it weren't cross-eyed, but especially since it's not cross-eyed. So we're going to set that to the side. And then we have an alternate top to his head, which I like, but here's the issue with it. So it comes with this stand to hold it, which is a little weird, but I dig it. We're going to take that out. And then, we're going to take this off. Now, you take off the top part of his head, and you add in, actually, I'm going to add this first. And then you add in the front part of the face. And that goes together pretty well. And then there's a little, I'm sorry if you couldn't see all that. There's a little notch there, and that will tab into his helmet, of which he has two options. Let's do the other one first, because I think I like this one better, and we'll use our pictures. So there's this one with the mohawk. All the dings and crevices and stuff in the armor all pick up that wash extremely well. And that goes on, and it looks really good. But that's not the one that I'm going to be using, so I'll set that to the side, and I'm going to use just his regular kind of Spartan war helmet that I feel like is more, I don't know, more iconic to the character. And we'll sit that on, and that looks really good, really sharp. So we're going to set that to the side for now. Actually, yeah, we're going to set that to the side for now. And then he has one of these little peg trees of hands, which I've always wanted to take a look at because I think it's so bizarre, and I've seen it in Figma reviews before, but I've never had the opportunity to look at one myself. It is as strange as I thought it would be. But here it is, and there's pegs for each hand, which I think is a really nice idea. All the fingers are all sculpted. You can see the fingernails in them, and they all have a shading on them as well. So you got two different types of posing hands, two holding hands, and then as you saw, he comes with two fists. Now, for the holding hands, you can have him do a number of things. One of which is equip this spear or sword. Now the sword is a black paint here, and then it looks like it was dry brushed ever so lightly for the edges. And then the bottom is done in just a brown paint, and then the bottom of the sword handle is also painted black and then washed. I mean, dry brushed. It may not even be painted black; it's just dry brushed. So you take out that, and then you insert the sword into the hand, and then you peg it back in, and now he's holding his sword. Now, you apply the same method to the spear, which is awesome. It's insanely long, bigger than the figure. And then we have the bandaging that's all painted and sculpted, and then we have this, which is just painted and dry brushed, and this. I wish there was some sculpt work between the spear handle and the tip of the spear, because you would think it was an extra piece, but it doesn't feel as such on the piece. And then down here is a separate piece, obviously, because you take this off and you apply the same method, sliding it through the hand. So we're going to take him, and we're going to also add the cape. Now, Chris warned me about the cape, so I had a little bit of an advantage, but you want it so that the clasp is in the front, and that makes it seem like there's this whole bit sticking off the back. But if you push it down, I'm going to attach his head. If you take this and you actually push the fabric kind of inside out, it creates this nice fold, and it looks very natural. And the cape itself is like a heavy cloth material. That's like what I've been preaching forever when it comes to capes, is that the cape should be of a heavy enough material where it gives it life, and it looks really good. So then we're going to take off his hands, and we're going to tab in this hand. I'm not sure if I went over wrist articulation, but you can see the same joint there. It's the ball hinge with a peg, so you get the swivel and the hinge. And then we're going to take off, that came out the wrong way. I might have to do this off camera. Hold on. Alright, it was just a little stubborn. Now we're going to put this one in. And the way that this works, actually I shouldn't have put that in yet. Now you get to see it being done. So it all works out. The way that this works is that this piece, this shield, is beautiful, by the way. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Washed, the sculpt, everything, it works so well. And then we have this leather strap on the back here, and then this handle. So this comes off, and this comes off. And he can, if I can find the piece, you take this piece, which is the handle, and you separate it. And then you lock that around his hand. And that was a really small piece. Alright. So then you tab this back in. Not the best connection. Let me see if I can. There. There's that. Except you want it facing this way. And then you can tab this in. Right? And then you plug his hand in. And then you take this piece and put that over top. Now, and that fits really well. Now, this is pretty involved. I wish they did it like the SH Figuarts, where there's a hand already holding the handle. It would just make it a little bit more user-friendly. But it still looks fantastic. Just amazing. I'm captivated by it at the moment. And there's a size comparison with other 6-inch-esque figures. And you can see he's on the small side. you know, comparatively. Final thoughts wise, it's great. There's a few issues though. I wish that I could get a little bit more out of those ankles, and I wish I could get a little bit more of an ab crunch out of them. Those are two kind of articulation limitations that I've come across with just in messing with them. In just the limited time, to be fair, the limited amount of time that I've been messing with them. Those are two things that have kind of stuck out. I also wish that his sword could be sheathed in his holster or whatever is sheath for it, but I can't. It doesn't go in. I also wish that the way that you can mount the different heads and stuff, like if this would have came with an extra piece that you could just plug in, it's kind of an ordeal to sort of get them armored up or to change out accessories or whatever you're trying to do. It's just kind of a pain to do so. And then of course the cross eyes on the alternate face is not my favorite thing in the world. Now I've just messed with him and look what I've done. Because he is relatively well balanced, but I'm just trying to get that more dynamic pose. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about issue-wise, and I'm not sure that there is. You know, the interchangeability of accessories that pose a problem. They could have come with some extra bits to kind of make it easier across the board, including the shield. And I wish I could have got a little bit more articulation out of them. And outside of that, I don't really have many complaints. I love 300. I was at SDCC the year that Frank Miller introduced the trailer for 300. It was a very awesome moment, and it just has a special place in my heart. Plus, I think the chick that plays Cersei on Game of Thrones is very attractive, and she does it for me. And the fact that in 300 she says, you know, come back with your shield or on it, that's my type of girl.
Come back with your shield or on it.
Okay.
Can I come with you?
I opted for on it. Have you been out there? There's like a million Persians out there. There's only 300. Are you out of your mind? I want to come back in.
I love this. The sculpt is great. The paint is out of this world. Out of this world. It's not over the top. It's subtle. It's extremely effective. I'm not sure if I've seen paint kind of this classy in a long time. It's something to be marveled at. The accessories are all outstanding. I mean, getting them to work is a bit of a pain, but they're all smart. They're all appropriate, and they all enrich the figure, which is nice. The articulation is on point. It's just a solid product. So I definitely recommend them if you have a connection to 300 or Leonidas or the movie or history, whatever makes you buy this figure. I recommend that. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.